Who is James K. Polk was a common question during the hotly contested election of 1844. The election reflected a growing division within the Democratic Party, particularly regarding the issue of the annexation of Texas. Within this volatile political climate, James K. Polk, the little-known former congressman and governor of Tennessee, emerged as the dark horse candidate for the presidency. Upon Polk's surprising victory, the president-elect hoped to mend the divisions within his party. To diffuse these factional rivalries, Polk first attempted to create a cabinet that would represent each of the major states or regions of the Democratic Party: New York, Pennsylvania, New England, Virginia, the Deep South, and Tennessee. Polk not only wanted the members of his cabinet to meet his geographical considerations, but he also wanted a group of trustworthy and experienced men. Polk's task proved to be far more difficult than he had anticipated, and his cabinet positions were not filled until just 3 days before his inauguration as president. As his Secretary of State, Polk opted for Senator James Buchanan, an experienced politician from Pennsylvania. Though eager to have a Pennsylvanian in his cabinet, Polk was especially concerned that Buchanan would use his position to campaign for the presidency in 1848, and demanded Buchanan's promise that he would not do so without permission. Polk and Buchanan did have their fair share of disagreements during Polk's term, most notably regarding the division of Oregon Territory with Great Britain. However, Buchanan, the former diplomat, proved invaluable during lengthy negotiations with Great Britain and in the annexation of Texas. After a failed bid for the Democratic nomination in 1848, Buchanan would eventually be elected president in 1856. For his Secretary of the Treasury, Polk chose Senator Robert Walker of Mississippi. With family ties to Vice President George Dallas and to Pennsylvania, Walker was a popular choice among many Democrats. Walker was a key figure in the implementation of two of Polk's major goals for his presidency: the reduction of the tariff and the establishment of the independent Treasury system. After struggling with opposing factions in the state of New York, James K. Polk chose conservative William Marcy as his Secretary of War, a position that would become critical with the start of the Mexican War in 1846. During the war, Marcy often clashed with General Winfield Scott and pushed for the general's resignation. Historian George Bancroft of Massachusetts served as Polk's Secretary of the Navy and founded the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis. In 1846, Polk appointed Bancroft Minister to Great Britain, a position that allowed Bancroft to further research his 10-volume History of the United States. To fill the position of Attorney General, Polk looked no further than John Mason, his longtime friend and former classmate at the University of North Carolina. Hailing from Virginia, Mason had served as Secretary of the Navy under President Tyler, and returned to that position with the resignation of George Bancroft in 1846. Nathan Clifford of Maine served as Attorney General from 1846 through 1848 and was later appointed to the Supreme Court by President Buchanan. Isaac Towsey of Connecticut served as Attorney General for the final year of Polk's presidency. To fill the office of Postmaster General, Polk turned to yet another old friend, fellow Tennessean Cave Johnson, a political ally of Polk's and a former congressman himself. Johnson oversaw the introduction of postage stamps. Throughout Polk's presidency, his cabinet served as his most trusted advisors, meeting twice weekly to discuss major concerns. Rather than conferring with an individual secretary regarding a specific topic, Polk valued the opinions of his cabinet as a whole. Cabinet meetings were considered mandatory, and the meticulous Polk recorded the proceedings in his diary each night. Polk's care in choosing his cabinet was eventually rewarded with loyalty. Just 8 men served in the 6 positions during Polk's term, in contrast to the divided cabinets of former Presidents Tyler and Jackson. While the headstrong Polk ultimately dictated his own policies, his cabinet played a vital role in the successes of his presidency.